I'm not a fucking princess. Chapter 1. The 25-year-old Aaron Hotchner tried not to show his nervousness. Internally, however, he was more than tense because he had been made well aware from many sides just how important this job would be for his future career. At the residence of Ambassador Prentiss, highly influential personalities came and went. If he performed his duties here correctly, this position could become the stepping stone he had worked toward for so long. Most days are pretty uneventful. If you've done your background checks properly, that's exactly how it should be, explained Will Grayson, a 46-year-old chief of security, as he led Aaron through the sprawling estate. Late summer brings several consecutive celebrations, and the annual Christmas party is a bit more demanding. Other than that, the job mostly consists of paperwork. Just as they returned to the grand entrance hall, the imposing white doors swung open, and a young woman with dripping raven black hair and oversized sunglasses stepped halfway through the gap. "Grayson," she greeted the security chief with a charming smile. Her gaze landed on Aaron, and she tilted her head slightly. "A new Oompa Loompa?" Aaron was momentarily perplexed. Had she just insulted him? At the same time, it was hard not to notice that her white top had become almost transparent from the water, revealing an obviously skimpy bikini underneath. Her demeanor was casual, confident, and almost playfully provocative. Grayson remained unfazed by Emily's comment. "Agent Hotchner will be handling the security screening for your mother from today onward," he explained, turning to Aaron. "This is Miss Emily Prentiss, unexpectedly up early today, and as you can see, the victim of a lawn sprinkler." Will casually glanced at his watch, which read 9:34. Emily grinned in response. "Gray, gray, gray, you should know me better. I haven't been to bed yet, at least not for sleeping. But now I'm actually tired and going to crash." As she spoke, she let her slender fingers trail over Grayson's arm. Aaron observed how the security chief showed no sign of surprise, but instead responded with an amused smile. It was clear that there was a special familiarity between them. Aaron sensed that Emily held a unique position in Grayson's life. The security chief was lenient with her, even when she was obviously trying to throw him off balance. At the same time, he seemed used to handling her provocative comments and behavior with patience and a touch of humor. "Nice to meet you, Agent Hotchner." She winked at Aaron before bouncing up the curved staircase. Aaron, instinctively following her with his eyes, caught himself staring at her incredibly short denim miniskirt. Realizing what he was doing, he quickly snapped his gaze forward, feeling a rush of heat to his face. His cheeks burned as a wave of embarrassment crashed over him. "God, what am I doing?" he thought in panic, "of all times in front of my new boss." Grayson had noticed the moment but didn't comment. He merely said, "Come on, I'll introduce you to the team." His voice was professional, but a barely perceptible smirk flickered across his face as he led Aaron ahead. In the security office, Grayson opened the door with a smirk. "Baby bird has landed," he commented dryly, shooting a pointed look at a blonde agent who was standing with his arms crossed in front of one of the monitors, which surprises me since I wasn't even aware that she had taken off. The blonde agent, who appeared only slightly older than Aaron, remained unfazed. Without taking his eyes off the screen, he shrugged. "Emily? Vanishing without checking in? No, really, she's never done that before." The sarcasm in his voice was unmistakable, and Aaron noticed how effortlessly and routinely he handled the surveillance cameras. Before Grayson could respond, the back door of the office swung open, and another younger agent entered, casually carrying a sports bag over his shoulder. He looked like he had just come from a workout and gave Aaron a brief nod before addressing Grayson. "I saw her climbing over the wall. She was with Allison, probably high as a kite again and soaking wet. The sprinkler must have got her." The blonde agent interrupted with a theatrical gesture. "Does that mean I missed a wet Emily? Now that is the real tragedy here." He grinned as he started flipping through surveillance footage, clearly hoping to find a recording of Emily's morning adventure. Grayson, observing the scene with a mix of amusement and disapproval, finally turned to Tony with a furrowed brow. "Tony Larson," he said deliberately, who normally doesn't forget that Emily is only 17 years old and acts accordingly. With that, he delivered a light but firm smack to the back of Tony's head before switching the cameras back to live feed. Aaron, who had been following the conversation silently, suddenly felt his thoughts racing. 17? The number echoed in his head as if it were searing itself into his brain. His heart skipped a beat. The realization hit him like a punch to the gut, and a wave of heat immediately rushed to his face. He suddenly became acutely aware of how unprofessional and inappropriate his reaction had been, even if it had only been a fleeting moment. Jeff Torres, the man who had just entered, introduced himself, his voice warm and energetic. "Welcome to the team." Aaron took his hand, firm as he had been taught, and nodded. "Thanks. Aaron Hotchner." Jeff studied him briefly as if assessing him before turning to Grayson. "Is he getting thrown straight into paperwork, or will there be some action today?" Grayson raised an eyebrow and responded dryly, "If by action you mean checking the supplier lists, then yes." Jeff chuckled and patted Aaron on the shoulder. "Don't worry, the exciting part will come eventually." Tony suddenly grinned. "Oh, by the way, Aaron," he started, leaning back casually in his chair, "a little tip from me. Keep an eye on Emily. She loves messing with new people, and trust me, she's a pro at it." Jeff laughed in agreement. "Oh yeah, she has a sixth sense for finding exactly what makes you squirm. It's practically her personal sport." Aaron looked between the two, unsure whether they were teasing him or genuinely warning him. "Thanks for the heads up," he said cautiously, his voice carrying a hint of uncertainty. Tony waved dismissively. "No problem. She's harmless, most of the time. Just don't get too distracted, or we'll all have something to laugh about." Grayson, however, seemed to know exactly how to handle the situation. With the same calm professionalism he had displayed all morning, he placed a hand on Aaron's shoulder and gestured for him to follow. "Come on, Hotchner, we still have a lot to go over." Well, that was the perfect transition, Grayson sighed, sinking into his comfortable office chair. With a practiced motion, he pulled open the top drawer of his massive desk and retrieved a single sheet of paper, giving it a quick, scrutinizing glance before sliding it across the table toward Aaron with a mix of seriousness and emphasis. "I need you to sign a special confidentiality agreement," he began, his voice deliberately calm but with an undertone that made it clear this wasn't just any ordinary document. "Miss Prentiss has a tendency towards provocative behavior," Grayson continued, raising an eyebrow as if that was the most polite way he could phrase it. "It goes without saying that nothing you see, hear, or experience here ever leaves the walls of this estate." As he spoke, his gaze remained firmly on Aaron, as if ensuring he fully understood the weight of his words. Aaron, suddenly aware of the gravity of the situation, nodded slowly. The name Aaron Hotchner was soon signed in neat script under the lengthy, detailed declaration. At first glance, a standard confidentiality agreement, except for the unusually explicit clauses that seemed almost tailored to Emily personally. As he set the pen down, he looked up and met Grayson's gaze. The security chief leaned back, folding his hands over his stomach, a faint smile flickering on his face. Was it approval, amusement, or just routine? Aaron couldn't tell. Internally, however, Aaron was anything but composed. The last few minutes had left him unsettled. Was it the casual, almost familial rapport between Emily and Grayson that had struck him as unexpectedly intimate? Or the fact that a 17-year-old moved so freely in such a high-profile environment with a level of confidence he had barely seen in adults? Maybe it was the subtle suggestion that there was far more happening behind the scenes than he had been told. One thing was clear. Grayson's claim that this job would be uneventful had evaporated the moment Emily spoke her first words.